The Kia Sportage is one of the very best-selling cars in the UK. But why? Well, it's not hard to understand really. For a start, being a family SUV, it's in a very popular class of car. On top of that, it's practical, comfortable, nice inside, competitively priced, and comes with Kia's fantastic 7-year or 100,000 mile warranty. And now one of the UK's favourite new cars is getting some updates as part of a facelift. So, what's new and is it even better? Today, we're in Frankfurt to find out. So what's new? Well, let's start on the outside, and you can probably see that this isn't a massive overhaul in the design department. It's more of a subtle evolution of what came before, and this introduction of a new headlight design now helps this car look very similar to what's on offer from things like the EV3, the EV6, and even the Kia Picanto. There's a larger grille, there's some new side cladding, there's also all new alloy designs to choose from, but they still range from 17, 18 or 19 inches in size. At the rear, you've got some new graphics in these LED headlights, but really overall, on the outside, you can see not a huge amount has changed for the new Sportage. And under here, in the boot, it's a similar story really, because overall capacity is exactly the same as it was before. So that means if you go for a plug-in hybrid, you get 540 litres of space. If you go for the petrol, you'll get 562 litres of space. And the boot that is the biggest in the Sportage lineup is the full hybrid, which offers 587 litres of storage. In the previous Sportage, we could fit 8 carry-on size suitcases into the back, and compared to a Nissan Qashqai, that could fit 6. So we do know that it is a really practical boot with lots of space on offer as well. And it's the same as it was before. So in this petrol version that we've got here, you've got a height adjustable boot floor as standard. You get that across the lineup, which is great, and it gives you some underfloor storage, or of course, you can lower it down to increase the overall capacity. You've also very helpfully got 40-20-40 split folding rear seats as standard. So you can fold down each of the 3 rear seats individually, and that gives you more flexibility than other rivals that only offer 60-40 split folding rear seats, which fold down in 2 chunks instead. And what's also good is on every Sportage you get these levers in the back that means you can flip down the rear seats just like that. Now, the boot being exactly the same as it was before should give you a pretty good hint that the overall dimensions of this new version are pretty much identical to the old car. So in terms of practicality, what you have in the new Sportage is the same as the old one, which in the rear seats is no bad thing at all really, because you've got a little bit more legroom than you find in a Hyundai Tucson, which is a really key rival for this car and very closely related underneath as well. Headroom is very good for adults sat in the back here. Now, I'm 177 centimetres tall, about 5'10", sat behind my driving position, and I'm very comfortable back here. You've got a nice big window that lets in a lot of light, and also the top line of it is nice and high, so it doesn't cut down below your eye level, so you have to bend down to look out. No problem like that at all. There is a bit of a transmission tunnel down here, but it's fairly small, and 3 people side by side is manageable in the back. You've got ISOFIX mounts, you've got coat hangers, USB-C ports, your own climate controls as well, and you can fold down this middle seat to reveal an armrest and a couple of cup holders, all of which is very good. But perhaps the biggest trick up the sleeve of the Sportage in these rear seats is the fact that you can recline them as standard. So even the cheapest version of this car will let you adjust the angle of the backrest in the rear seats. So you can have it as far back as this or as upright as this, or anywhere in between. And it's great to have that flexibility. It's something that's pretty rare even in the family SUV class. So overall, this is really good in the back, just like it was before. If there is something to complain about, it's perhaps the fact that most of the materials on the door card here are actually pretty hard, cheap feeling plastics, but the armrest is at least padded, albeit fairly thinly. And overall, this, just like before, is really good in the rear seats. Now, the practicality might be the same as before, but up front, there are some changes to point out here. Now, at a glance, it might seem quite familiar to the old car, but you've got this new steering wheel here, which has got this kind of flat bottom 2-spoke design. And that's effectively been borrowed from the EV3 and the EV9. And you've got these nicely damped physical separate switches and dials, which all work very well indeed. And you've also got this drive mode button that you can cycle through through on the steering wheel. This used to be down on the center console, but now it's within even easier reach while you're driving, which is nice. There's also this LED mood lighting on the dashboard here, and this slightly more hidden air vent design. But maybe the biggest change here is that down on the center console, there's no gloss black. You had lots of it before, and it's a surface that's very easily made to look a bit grubby with all your fingerprints and smudges here and there. Now that's gone, you've got this kind of brushed plastic finish instead, and it looks really classy, and it's nicely done. It still feels really good as well. Everything feels solid, all the switches and the dials are nicely damped as well. There are some harder plastics around, but it still feels like good quality throughout this interior. And we are sitting in what should effectively be the cheapest version of the Sportage that you can buy in the UK, or at least a European equivalent version of that car. And you've still got this pretty nice look and feel inside. So you don't have to buy the most expensive version of this car to get a really nice interior. But if you go for lower spec models in the UK, the difference from what you see here is that the digital driver display on those lower spec models will be a 4.3-inch screen, rather than this 12.3-inch one. But on the higher spec models, you'll get this screen attached to another one of the same size, like you did in the old Sportage. But the difference for this new model is there's a slightly different design towards the edges of this massive screen that connects the two together. The infotainment system itself runs Kia's latest infotainment software, which allows you to connect multiple Bluetooth devices. It uses wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And if you go for a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid version of this car, you'll get a new head-up display which can use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto through it. So it can run Google Maps or Waze and project your directions straight into that head-up display. The infotainment system itself is good, it's responsive, the menus are easy to get your head around, and the icons are big enough to be able to hit fairly simply on the move. Of course, it would be better if there were more physical controls to help operate it. And Kia is sticking with this touch-sensitive climate control panel down here, but this really isn't the end of the world at all. Yes, physical buttons and dials would be even better, but for this setup here, it's very easy still to change the fan speed or the temperature, and you can also quite cleverly flick between this operating the climate or some media functions instead. So overall, a few changes here and there, but nothing to dramatically change what the Sportage offers up front. And still, just like before, this is a very strong interior for the class. Now, what about the engines? Well, like the rest of the car, the tweaks are subtle rather than revolutionary, but maybe the biggest surprise is that the mild hybrids have been dropped from the lineup entirely. So that means that the entry point for the Sportage lineup is the 1.6 litre petrol engine, which is badged as the TGDI ICE. You can still have that with a 6-speed manual gearbox or a 7-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox. There is still the option of going for a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid Sportage. They use the same 1.6 litre petrol engine as the regular car. The standard hybrid gains 29 brake horsepower over its predecessor, and the plug-in hybrid 42 brake horsepower, courtesy of a newly designed electric motor. Unlike the petrol model, both hybrids can only be had with an automatic gearbox, which is an updated 6-speed unit. Which is good news, because the previous 6-speed unit was a bit sluggish when you wanted to change down gears, to be honest. But this new 6-speed gearbox that we're driving in the hybrid does feel a bit more alert, and it is an improvement over the old one. And something that's new for the hybrid is the fact that if you're in eco mode and you use the paddles on the steering wheel here, then you can adjust the level of regenerative braking, and you've got 3 different levels you can choose from. It won't let you use a 1-pedal driving mode, so it won't let you trigger a mode that means when you lift off the accelerator, the car will slow itself down to a complete stop, but still, level 3 is pretty strong. And then, what's really clever, is if you put the car into sport mode, then the same paddles on the steering wheel let you change gear. You will also be able to now get the new Sportage with a plug-in hybrid that is front-wheel drive. Previously, if you wanted a plug-in hybrid Sportage, you could only have a 4-wheel drive one. So this new front-wheel drive version should be more efficient and cheaper than the 4-wheel drive option. We don't have full details of that yet because it's going to be launched slightly after the regular hybrid version and the petrol version of the Sportage. But we have been told that there's not going to be any huge mechanical revamp for the new plug-in hybrid Sportage. So you can expect the same battery size as the previous model, which means the 40-ish mile WLTP official figure from the old Sportage will be very similar in the new facelifted plug-in hybrid version. We do know about the trim levels, and while the old Sportage was available with 4 different trims, now for this facelifted model there are 3 to choose from. The entry-level version is called Pure, and above that you've got GT Line, and the range-topping model is GT Line S. And it's also now good that you can choose any engine option in any trim level. Previously, if you went for a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, you had to go for one of the higher trim levels to get them. Of the trim levels available, Pure looks pretty compelling because it's the cheapest but still comes with a good amount of equipment like cruise control or adaptive cruise control if you have an automatic gearbox, wireless smartphone mirroring, and keyless entry and start. GT Line adds heated front seats and a heated steering wheel, along with a few styling touches on the outside, but it doesn't really make a strong case for itself for the extra money that it costs. Range-topping GT Line S, though, does. It gets lots of luxuries like heated rear seats and ventilated front seats, but then it does push the price up very high. Stick to the lower end of the lineup though, and while there has been a slight jump up in price compared to the old model, the new Sportage still represents very good value compared to the rivals that it's up against. It undercuts the Tucson and is similar in price to the Skoda Karoq. Now, what about the Sportage on the road? Well, the first thing to point out is that it's not really that different from the old one because there have been no major changes to the platform, no tweaks to the suspension or the steering either. Yes, the engine lineup is a little bit different, but we spent most of the time driving this entry-level petrol version. And on the road, this is just as strong as the previous Sportage. So that means it's great when it comes to ride comfort, performance is fine even in this entry-level version, handling is certainly good enough for this kind of car as well, and it's pretty refined in here as well. Now, it's not just that this is an inoffensive car that just ticks the boxes and is fine. This is genuinely impressive on the road because mainly for the ride comfort that it offers. It does a really, really good job of rounding off sharp imperfections on the road. It's a very settled ride, whether you're at low speeds or on the motorway, and just overall, it's smooth, relaxing, quiet, and pretty nice to drive. So, just like the old Sportage, this, compared to all the competitors that it's up against, is still really strong on the road. So really, this is a pretty mild update to this big selling car. Nothing has changed dramatically, but then nothing really needed to. And thankfully, the Kia Sportage is still just as appealing and as competitive as it was before. It ticks all the right boxes in the family SUV class. It's comfortable, it's practical, it's nice inside, it's well priced, and if you are looking for a car in this class, this is pretty tough to beat. Thanks very much for watching this review. If you want to see another one, then click up there. Make sure you subscribe to our channel while you're at it. And if you want to read more about the Sportage and every other car around, click on that link to go to whatcar.com.